Hello and welcome to Let's Explore Alternate Nostril Breathing, also known as Nadi Shodhana. My name is Kathleen Helen Lisson, and I am a yoga teacher in San Diego, California. What are we going to explore in today's presentation? We're going to look at the health benefits of alternate nostril breathing. We're going to practice several different versions of alternate nostril breathing. We're going to look at the differences between alternate nostril breathing and Nadi Shodhana. We're going to look at opinions on whether Nadi Shodhana is a purification technique or a pranayama. And we'll discuss tips for adding this type of breath work to your self-care routine. So first, let's get some definitions. So what is Nadi Shodhana? And this is from a research article in 2023. And the researchers state that Nadi Shodhana Pranayama is also referred to as Anulom Vilom Pranayama or Nadi Shodhana Pranayama. And it involves breathing in through one nostril while closing the other, holding the breath momentarily, and then breathing out through the other nostril while keeping the first one closed. So basically, it's the practice where we're breathing through one nostril at a time and then going back and forth between the nostrils for the breathing practice. So it's useful to know some Sanskrit translations as the breathing practice comes from the yogic tradition in India, and research on this and other breathing practices often uses Sanskrit terms. So puraka means inhalation, kumbhaka means retention or holding the breath, and richaka means exhalation. And it's also useful for us to know about the nasal cycle so we're not surprised when we come across one nostril being a little more stuffy or a little bit harder to breathe out of one nostril than the other. This is a normal in the body, and it switches from nostril to nostril in a certain amount of time periods. It switches back and forth throughout the day. There's been a little bit of research that says, like, when you're sick, that cycle may change, but for most everyone, that is the cycle. And our nasal cycle switches every few hours or so. So one nostril is a little more congested and contributes less to airflow, while the other becomes a little more decongested. And we also have to understand for a large amount of our population, they may have difficulties with breathing through both nostrils of the nose. They may have difficulty breathing in one nostril or the other. I myself had that difficulty. I had to have a rhinoplasty in order to gently and thoroughly be able to breathe through both nostrils in a healthy way. But if someone has any kind of difficulty in the nose, where one nostril is more difficult to breathe in and out of, this may not be a practice that is very accessible to them. So how do we begin? And just like any other breath work, it's good to check with your physician if you have pre-existing health issues that you think might affect your ability to perform breath work safely for yourself. So definitely check in with your physician to see if this is the right practice for you. And if your physician says yes, like, go ahead and do it. Let's see if it benefits your self-care. Some tips from beginners from this research article published in 2023. The first one is, in the beginning, practice for only a couple minutes every day until your body really gets used to it. You can increase the time gradually as whatever your comfort level will let you do. Pay attention to your body and don't force yourself too hard, particularly in this initial phase of doing this breath work. Focus on keeping a consistent and rhythmic breath all through the training. So don't try to do too long of an inhale, too long of an exhale, too long of a holding the breath, if it's the one that involves holding the breath, and then you find yourself like gasping in for air afterwards. It's best to keep it consistent and rhythmic. You practice preferably in the first part of the day or at night when the mind is relatively calmer if you're really trying to do it for a longer period of time. Consistency is vital to experiencing the maximum benefit of this and really any other exercise. Consistently doing it will give you a way to see all the benefits that may come from Nadi Shodhana. And then my own personal recommendations that I would say, practice this in other breath work where we're inhaling deeply on an empty stomach. It's if you have the really full stomach, sometimes it's difficult to take those deeper breaths. It's uncomfortable. And also go to the bathroom before you start. This deep diaphragmatic breathing can really help your lymphatic system work, which will help the fluid come from your body to your circulatory system, and then you'll urinate it out. So you may find after an extended breathwork practice, you have a full bladder. So it's a really good idea to empty the bladder so you won't have to like have the discomfort of feeling that you're holding the urine while you're trying to get peaceful with breath work. Okay, and more advice from a more traditional yogic perspective. Keep practicing Nadi Shodhana until you feel a lightness of the body, a radiance, an increase in digestive fire, and expression of the inner sound. And these are more esoteric ideas on what the continued practice of Nadi Shodhana may bring you as a yogi who is centered in an asana practice and now just practicing pranayama as part of a full yoga practice. So what are the benefits of Nadi Shodhana or alternate nostril breathing? Again, from the yogic perspective, according to the Shiv Samhita, the yogi's body becomes balanced, fragrant, radiant, a melodious voice is heard, soft limbs, a full chest, firmness, and the ability of the body. All these become complete by purification of pulse. So that's some other beautiful benefits that are recommending Nadi Shodhana to the yogi as a breathwork practice. So let's look at more of what would Western medicine say is the benefits of alternate nostril breathing. This is from publication in 2017. The modulation of sympathovagal balance, improved cardiac function, refined metabolism, stress relief, increased cognitive acumen, and attenuation of normal aging. And there is an argument to be made that maybe I said the same thing on two successive slides, but this is more from a Western perspective, has seen the benefits of breathwork practices like alternate nostril breathing. And specifically, another great benefit is that breathing alternately through each nostril helps to restore the autonomic nervous system balance. So we want to have a balance between the sides of our nervous system, the parasympathetic, which is rest and digest, the one that helps us relax, and the sympathetic nervous system, which helps us spring into action to save ourselves from danger, called the fight or flight response. And each nostril, one nostril is more communicative to the parasympathetic nervous system, and the other nostril is more communicative to the sympathetic nervous system. So by breathing alternately through each nostril, we're helping to balance the nervous system between those two sides. So let's look a little bit more deeply into the fight or flight and the rest and digest. And our friend the tiger is showing us in our bodies, as we look at that scary picture, what fight or flight might feel like in our body. So the researcher states that it is proposed that the relation between central and peripheral nervous systems is bidirectional. So peripheral communicates with central, central communicates with peripheral. As a result, breathing through the right nostril can activate the sympathetic nervous system, that fight or flight nervous system, while breathing through the left nostril can stimulate the parasympathetic, that rest and digest nervous system. So regular alternate nostril breathing practice can disrupt the fight-flight responses by drawing a new balance state between the respiratory, cardiovascular, and autonomic nervous systems. So what a great benefit, and something that will also help us as a form of breath work as well. So we'll look, continuing with this researcher's article, they did a systematic review of clinical trials and included 6 studies with this following pattern. They breathe out through the left nostril, breathe in through the right nostril, and then repeated that pattern 2 or 3 times, then switch the nostrils, breathing out through the right nostril and then breathing in through the left nostril. And they repeated that pattern either 1, 2, or 3 times before switching again. So we're breathing in through one nostril and out through the other, in through one nostril, out through the other, in through one nostril, out through the other, and then let go the opposite direction with the breathing in and out through alternating nostrils. So this is the first pattern of alternate nostril breathing that we will look at. So let's practice this one time, and it'll have a one-time repeat. And then we'll do more different types of alternate nostril breathing as we get deeper into the presentation, but this will be the first one that we try. And I will go ahead and keep the time for us. But I'll invite you to start by sitting in a comfortable yet alert position with a straight spine. You can close your eyes if that feels comfortable. And we'll begin by taking a few diaphragmatic breaths. So moving the diaphragm as we breathe. And one hand position we can use is called Vishnu Mudra. So that is, we're using the thumb of our right hand and the ring finger of our right hand to close off the nostrils. So the index finger and the middle finger are going to be at the base of the thumb, and then the thumb and the index finger are going to be held up straight. So we'll start by closing off the right nostril with the thumb. We're going to breathe in and out through the left nostril. So go ahead and breathe in and breathe out. Then we'll switch over and we'll close the left nostril with the ring finger and breathe in and out through the right nostril. So go ahead and breathe in and breathe out. So we'll switch, breathing in and out through the left nostril. And switch again, breathe in and out through the right nostril. Switch to breathe in through the left. Switch to breathe in through the right. And we'll repeat this for 4 more minutes. I'll have you do it at your own pace. We're about halfway through. We have about a minute left. Let's do one last round together. So I'll invite you to breathe in and out through the right nostril. And then in and out through the left nostril. And that was 5 minutes. We can go ahead and let that practice go. Release your hand and take a few deep breaths through both nostrils before ending this practice. And just take a moment now to feel any difference in your body, in your emotions, in your spirit. Now that we tried this breath work for a short 5-minute practice. All right, so we'll look at more research. This is the article titled The Effect of Nadi Shodhana Pranayama on Cognitive Function Among Healthy Individuals. So this research published in 2024 studied 30 healthy individuals aged 18 to 26, and they practiced Nadi Shodhana Pranayama for 15 minutes a session. So we just did 5 minutes, so it would be 15 minutes, 6 days a week for the duration of 8 weeks. And they found improvement in cognition. Specifically, they found improvement in the following cognitive domains: selective attention, focused attention, visual scanning, activation and inhibition of rapid responses, immediate verbal recall, attentional capacity, and working memory. And they state that the improvement in attention and working memory in Nadi Shodhana Pranayama groups could have enabled their improved cognitive functions. So if you have a job, a lifestyle, any interest in improving your cognitive domains, this may be a type of breath work that you should include in your self-care practices. Let's look at alternate nostril breathing and mindfulness. So focusing each breath helps reach a meditative stage and improves self-awareness and self-regulation, according to the research article published in 2017. And she cited Gard et al., who proposed a conceptual model that explains how yoga can promote cortical and subcortical neural connections, as well as communication between efferent and afferent pathways to enhance stress coping strategies. So according to this model, all the limbs of Ashtanga yoga, the eight limbs of yoga, enhance bidirectional communication between the central nervous system and the peripheral tissues to mitigate stress and induce negative responses with minimum efforts. So this is the conceptual model that shows how Ashtanga yoga, all 8 limbs of it, can help the yogi by enhancing this bidirectional communication between our central nervous system and our peripheral tissues. So let's look at the effects of stress and the perceived stress scale, using the perceived stress scale in this article published in 2025. And in this research, 60 medical students participated in a 3-month intervention. So they practiced pranayama for 20 minutes, 5 days a week. So we did 5 minutes practice. They practiced for 20 minutes. They practiced 5 days a week. And what their practice protocol was, they did 5 minutes of relaxation, 20 minutes of the Nadi Shodhana, and then they did 5 minutes afterwards of just relaxed breathing. And the researchers measured their stress with the perceived stress scale and auditory threshold with pure tone audiometry. So that was the type of research tool that they used. So what did they find? The researchers state that their findings suggest that pranayama not only reduces psychological stress, but it also enhances auditory perception, so the ability to hear things, possibly through the regulation of stress hormones and improved inner ear functioning. And they state that their study supports the use of pranayama as a simple, non-invasive intervention to reduce stress, which tends to improve cognitive performance in medical students, contributing to better academic outcomes and overall well-being. And I can say, just from personal practice of doing Nadi Shodhana, it gets you in this really peaceful, quiet state, and you really do start to hear more things in your environment. So I would tend to say that I see many of the same benefits in my personal practice as well. But let's look at some of the reasons why this improvement in the auditory threshold may happen. And the researchers state that this noxious effect on the ear can be theoretically explained because of the presence of blood catecholamines and exaggerated activity of the cochlear sympathetic innervation, so that fight or flight sympathetic innervation. And the auditory threshold, the threshold at which we can hear things, gets elevated, so we actually can't hear some things. We can hear less things because our threshold is elevated with stress-induced cortisol secretion and vice versa. So if we are secreting cortisol because we're stressed out, we literally can't hear some of these tinier sounds in our environment. And the stress hormone epinephrine also has the potential to alter the inner ear fluid homeostasis. So when the epinephrine is running through the system, it's affecting our inner ear fluid and thus our auditory perception. And physical interference at times of stress to the vibrations on the tympanic membrane by the tensor tympani dampens the vibration, which in turn also increases that auditory threshold. So it's so interesting how the ear actually works, the interference of these stress hormones and sympathetic innervation of the ear can actually work against us if we're trying to hear things clearly in our environment and we are in a stressful state of being. So let's try the pattern we tried before and do another type of Nadi Shodhana Pranayama, or alternate nostril breathing. But this time we'll do 3 times the pattern repeat. So before we did one, and we were concentrating on one nostril and then doing the other nostril, and then the first nostril and then the second nostril. But now we'll breathe in through the same nostril. And then breathe out through the same nostril and go in, out, in, out, in, out. And then we'll switch so it's backwards, out, in, out, in, out, in. So, but we'll see these directions are here. So I'll walk us through it the first couple times, and then you can keep your eyes open until you kind of get the feeling of it, and can do it on our own. So, but I will definitely keep the time for us. And this nice young man is showing us a different way that we can do the holding of the nostrils, the hand position. So this person is doing the hand position where just the thumb and the pinky finger is out. So you would use the thumb of your right hand to hold the right nostril closed, and then you'd use the pinky to hold the right nostril closed. So there are several different hand positions we can use, and just use the hand position that is easiest for you to use. So we're going to do this practice with a 3-time pattern repeat, and I will start us in just a moment. But just like last time, I'll remind you to assume a position that's respectful, yet the spine is erect, and take a few deeper diaphragmatic breaths. Your eyes can be open or closed. You can take either hand position or the hand position that you like. And we'll start by holding the thumb against the right nostril and breathing out through the left nostril. Then we'll switch fingers, breathe in through the right nostril. Switch fingers, breathe out through the left nostril. Switch again, breathe in through the right. Breathe out through the left. And breathe in through the right. Now we're going to switch over. We're breathing out through the right and in through the left. Out through the right, in through the left, out through the right, in through the left. Switching again, out through the left, in through the right, out through the left, in through the right, out through the left, in through the right. Switch our breath pattern, breathing out through the right, in through the left, out through the right, in through the left, out through the right, in through the left. And switch again to breathe out through the left and in through the right. And I'll let you do this at your pace. We're about halfway through, and I'll let you know when we're fully done with the 5 minutes. Okay, so one last time, let's breathe in through the right and out through the left. Okay, we've done 5 minutes of that practice. That was definitely something I had to concentrate more on versus the first practice, which seemed a little bit more intuitive. This is a more complex breath pattern for me. But I think after you did it for a couple different sessions over a few days, it might become like muscle memory where you really intuitively understand the path. This is way more like dancing for me, where you have to know the steps. So I hope you've released your hand, and then just take a few deep breaths through both nostrils before ending this practice. And just feel inside your body how it feels after doing the second set of Nadi Shodhana in your body, your mind, and your spirit. All right, so let's look at the effects of breath work and different chronic illnesses. So first we'll look at Nadi Shodhana and lymphedema. So the Institute of Applied Dermatology's yoga protocol for treatment of breast cancer-related lymphedema does include alternate nostril breathing, Nadi Shodhana, in their protocol for clients that have lymphedema after breast cancer. So it's used as part of their yoga protocol. And a different article also does suggest, as part of their guidelines, teaching yoga to women with breast cancer-related lymphedema. And their article states that it's an evidence-based approach. And this is from Loudon et al. It's a study out of 2017 that was published. And they state more specifically, slow cooling down is paramount in lymphedema management. And alternate nostril breathing, Nadi Shodhana, after the postures, after the yoga asana, can help to cool the body and allow the lymphatic vessels to continue to empty. It will also calm the mind by balancing the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems, and it's a preparation for meditation. So as part of this protocol, first they would do the yoga postures, then they would do Nadi Shodhana after the yoga postures, and then they would end with meditation. What about hypertension and Nadi Shodhana or alternate nostril breathing? So there was a randomized controlled trial of Nadi Shodhana Pranayama. This is a study from 2023, and people with hypertension practiced Nadi Shodhana for 20 minutes, and their blood pressure was recorded before and after the intervention. And researchers found a significant decrease in both systolic and diastolic blood pressure. So if you had lymphedema, if you had hypertension, high blood pressure, Nadi Shodhana could be something that you could ask your doctor about including in your self-care practices. And what are some of the reasons? It can be because of the hypothalamus, pituitary, adrenal, the HPA axis, and blood pressure. And Nadi Shodhana can cause regulation of that so that you can see that reduction in blood pressure is observed as a result of that practice. So what about alternate nostril breathing in cardiovascular health? There's a high level of evidence on the effects of alternate nostril breathing on cardiovascular functioning, as studies have shown that regular practice of alternate nostril breathing is associated with a decreased blood pressure and heart rates. And that's according to the researcher publishing in 2017. So again, if you had cardiovascular, if you have a cardiologist, this might be something that you bring up as something you could potentially do as part of your self-care. So let's look into a little bit more of yogic studies and the ideas and the concepts of what exactly is Nadi Shodhana, what exactly is alternate breathing, how does it fit into yogic theory and yogic practice. So these researchers, Kumari and Tripathi, publishing in 2023, they said that the Vashista does not consider Nadi Shodhana as a pranayama, but rather it's meant for purification of the nadis. And I will say that from what I've read, different experts, different yogic theorists and masters have said that Nadi Shodhana is either it is pranayama or it is not pranayama, and exactly, or it's a kriya. So it's going to purify the nadis, which are the channels that carry pranayama and prana throughout the body. So this is kind of just yogic experts trying to understand what it is and how it should be used from a yogic perspective. It's not to say that you shouldn't do it because it's not proper pranayama. Usually, if there's a tight definition of pranayama that I've read in my limited reading, it usually does involve the breath holding, and the two types that we've done now, there's an inhale and an exhale, but there's not really a kumbhaka. There's not really more of a vigorous practice like Kapalbhati or Bhastrika breath will be. So they would some people would put Nadi Shodhana as more of a purification ritual, something that's just cleansing and detoxing the body. So again, from the authors publishing in 2023, why is alternate nostril breathing, Nadi Shodhana, used in yoga? According to the spiritual point of view, this practice balances the energy channels in the physical being, helping in a consistent and balanced flow of indispensable life force energy, so the prana energy, through the nadis, through the energy channels. It permits us to connect strongly with our inner self, enhancing inner peace, contentment, and spiritual development. And we know Santosha is such an important niyama. Generally, this pranayama acts as the path towards self-realization, causing a significant change in our spiritual journey. So I would say there's no higher praise for a pranayama than that it could be a path towards our self-realization. So if you are a yogi who is on this path so that you can benefit from this lifetime, pranayama could definitely be recommended to you as a practice in yoga. So let's look at Anup et al. Published in 2024. And they say the Nadi Shodhana Pranayama, or alternate nostril breathing, activates and harmonizing the Ida and Pingala nadis. So two of those main and important energy channels in the body that go along the spine and twist back and forth and meet at the chakras at the different level, the chakras. Shodhana means to purify in English, the authors state, and this practice is called Nadi purification, pranayama. So let's look at, I kind of previewed them a little bit in my explanations earlier slide, but let's look at the different practices of Nadi Shodhana. So in the Vashista Samhita, Vashista has described it as an experiment of breathing in which there is only combination of Purak and Richak. So again, the inhale and the exhale without the use of the Kumbhak component. So in his practice, he thinks of alternate nostril breathing as not including a breath hold, but some people do use a breath hold in alternate nostril breathing. And I think that's why some people will call it a purification, a kriya, and other people will call it a full pranayama. And the Garon Samhita does add the kumbhak or the breath hold. So this type of Nadi Shodhana, as told, as recommended in the Garon Samhita, says you inhale from the left nostril, which is the Ida, connects to the Ida nostril. Then you hold the breath with it in, kumbhaka. Then you exhale from the right nostril, the Pingala Nadi. And then you inhale again from the right nostril, you hold the breath into the lungs, again, another kumbhaka, and then you exhale from the left nostril. So that's a very traditional way to do Nadi Shodhana that is a pranayama because it has a kumbhaka in it. So, but this is a very involved practice, according to this book. There should be a ratio of 16 counts to 64 counts to 32 counts in the inhalation, breath hold, and exhalation in this practice, in this particular way they want you to do Nadi Shodhana. So if you're inhaling for 16 counts, you're holding the breath for 64 counts, you're exhaling for 34 counts. So obviously you can lower those down into a lower fractions of inhale to hold to exhale. And the similar breathing ratio of 16 to 64 to 32 is also noted in the Yoga Tattva Upanishad. And there are also different things to do before beginning the practice if you are doing it in the spirit of how this book instructs you. There are certain directions that you face, certain specific seated positions that you take, different objects of contemplation you will use, different mantras you will use if you're doing certain versions of the practice of Nadi Shodhana. So this to explain that there are Nadi Shodhana is not only one practice that you do in one particular way according to one person, and it's all the same, or if you do it differently, you're wrong. It's more to say that there's many different ways to do Nadi Shodhana, many that are more very specific, and some that are more flexible. So let's look at this more advanced breath hold type of Nadi Shodhana. So you'll see in the bowl that we are inhaling through the left nostril for 6 seconds. I'm sorry, we're starting by exhaling through the left nostril for 6 seconds. Then we're inhaling through the left nostril, holding the breath, exhaling through the right nostril, inhaling through the right nostril, holding the breath, exhaling through the left nostril, inhaling through the left nostril, holding the breath, exhaling through the right nostril, inhaling through the right nostril, holding the breath. And then, so it'll be an exhale and inhale, holding the breath, exhale and inhale, holding the breath, exhale and inhale. So this is maybe another one where we're keeping our eyes open until we really get the hang of it. But we'll try this time with the breath hold for a total of 5 minutes. And as we begin, I'll invite you to sit in a comfortable yet alert position with a straight spine. You can close your eyes if that feels comfortable, and we'll take a few diaphragmatic breaths. And you can use whichever hand hold that you like, this one or this one. And we'll start by closing the right nostril with the thumb and exhaling through the left nostril for 6 seconds. Inhaling through the left nostril. Holding. Closing the left nostril, exhaling through the right nostril. Hold, inhaling. Holding. Exhaling. Inhaling. Holding. Exhaling. Inhaling. Holding. And continuing on at your own pace. And I will keep the time and we'll stop at 5 minutes. We're about halfway done. We'll inhale through the right. Hold. And exhale through the left. And you can bring your hand down to your side. Take a few deep breaths through both nostrils before ending this practice. Take a moment to feel how you feel. This one I feel was a little bit easier for me. Kind of got the hang of it. And then now that we've done several of these Nadi Shodhana practices, I invite you to feel, how do you feel after we've done about 15 minutes of breath work in this presentation? How does your body feel after this breath work? How does your mind feel? How does your spirit feel? And are you interested in learning more about Nadi Shodhana? Would you add it to your practice? Would you be open to feeling more beginner's mind and kind of experimenting with different types of breath work? And sometimes it seems confusing, but keeping with it and keeping our focus, bringing our focus back to the breath work is so beneficial for us being open to learning other things, other new things in our life, and not giving up just because we don't get it the first time that we do it. And what questions do you have about breath work and Nadi Shodhana? And any questions that you have, feel free to leave them in the comments of this video. Feel free to share with us your experiences of doing the practice of breath work. And we'll go through the conclusion. So kind of a review of what we learned. Alternate nostril breathing is a term for several related practices. It can also be referred to as Nadi Shodhana, Anum Vilom, Anulam Vilom, or Nadi Shuddhi. It's considered by some to be a pranayama and to others as a cleansing and purifying practice. And that can definitely be based on whether we're doing the breath hold, and how we're performing the alternate nostril breathing. It has effects on several systems of the body, and it is recommended for people with lymphedema, for those with cardiovascular issues, including high blood pressure, and probably more issues. It can help by helping reduce stress. It can affect positively so many chronic diseases that are in the body. And the practice generally involved breathing in or out through one nostril while closing the other nostril. And nostril breathing is done alternately during the practice, and breath holds may be used after the inhalation. So I'd like to end this practice with a brief mindful moment, kind of to get us back into the present moment after we have done some breath work and really learned about Nadi Shodhana. This is just a chance for us to gather our thoughts. Are you interested in adding this breath work to your mindfulness practice? If you do yoga at home, is there an opportunity to do Nadi Shodhana, a couple minutes of it after your yoga practice during the day or in the evening? When is a good time for you to practice it? Is there time in your morning schedule? Is there time when you find yourself waiting in the car for a couple minutes for someone to come if you're picking someone up? Is this a practice that you might include in your evening before you go to bed to reduce the stress from the day? And I'll have us do one more inhale and exhale together. And then I'll invite you, if you want to learn more about breath work, I have a free 10-session breath work and lymphatic wellness class. And interestingly, the type of Nadi Shodhana that I practice in the class is different from the 3 types that we've done today. There definitely are several different types of alternate nostril breathing. And you can find this 10-session class at my YouTube channel, Stress Reduction for Lymphedema. Here are the resources that we looked at. And I'd like to thank you for watching. If you want to see more presentations on stress reduction, they are at my website, KathleenHelenLisson.com. And if you want to follow me on Instagram, that Instagram is at stress reduction for lymphedema. Thank you and have a great day.